And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics and wrestling YouTube fanatics out there. And welcome to another installment of the Friday Night Faction Reviews, where we sit down and we try to process everything that we saw on Friday Night Smackdown. I am joined as always by my lovely co-host John, aptly known as the Professor here. Professor,
Hi.
I have so many questions. Like, what was this?
Yeah, if you've been watching these or you're going through them all in order, honorable of you, and it's painful, I'm sure. This was a weird SmackDown for various reasons. We're used to SmackDowns being in, the twos and threes. Every now and then there's an 8, and we're like, oh wow, what happened? Uh, this one was odd for various reasons, and I'm still not exactly sure why. There's some stuff we wanted. There's some stuff that was actually pretty good, and then there's a lot of what's going on.
So yeah, this the and then I had to remember once I got done watching it, I was like, well, I have questions for SmackDown. I'm very interested in a lot of things. And then when I checked the schedule, I'm like, wait a minute. At the time of watching it last night, I was like, wait a minute, there's a pay-per-view tomorrow. I was like, this was supposed to be a SmackDown go home show before Payback. Like, what? We'll talk
No,
about it because we
absolutely. It did not feel like a go home show at all. It's nice to know that the draft did not matter. Anyone can go anywhere at any time. Like this doesn't. It seems like it's arbitrary, even more so at this point. Some of these storylines are like, what? But then again, we're still getting stuff we want to see and kind of want to see, but it's just awkward.
the best way I could describe the SmackDown is it didn't feel like an actual go home show to build into Payback, but SmackDown right now is already telling us what the future of SmackDown for the next, I guess, the rest of 2023 might look like. So,
Yeah,
which
I buy that.
I
I buy
liked,
that.
but I still have lots of questions. So let's just rip the band-aid off. So before we get into the return, I don't it was unfortunately because Bray Wyatt passed away last week, so we got a week's break from what we normally start the show off with. And then we went back to what we hate. We opened SmackDown with a recap of what's going on with the bloodline. I'm like,
We're gonna have those telenovela commercials for the next 2 years. Like, there's nothing we can do about that. They're gonna pop up no matter what, and it's unfortunate because it's like we already know, and I get it. It's the casuals, and we've ranted about this before, but you lose time. This is time that I don't know. Bailey and Shotzi could have had. Oh, I gave it away. We're gonna talk about that. You could have had more women do things. You could have had any of these backstage segments not be rushed. They all felt like they were 30, 40 seconds too rushed last night. Instead, we have this 5-minute epic of let's talk about Roman Reigns, who's not even here.
and will
3
not
weeks
be
ago.
here until maybe Survivor Series. I'm just
These
like,
folks, they're all on vacation. We don't need to. You're killing me. Anyway.
so we get a recap, and then once we open the show with Kevin Patrick, Corey Graves, and Michael Cole, you know, Kevin Patrick doing his darndest, but
They're trying. They almost figured out this three-headed monster thing. I still don't know why we have it this way, and I want to know why. I'm not sure what happened with contracts or deals, or if Michael Cole just wanted to be on both shows, or did Corey Graves do something stupid? Do they just not trust Kevin Patrick? Like,
it's
what?
it's really really weird. And then this was even a weirder way to start the show because C Nation leader himself, John Cena, makes his return to WWE and SmackDown, and of course, the audience is like indifferent, like not indifferent, but obviously there's people who are cheering, there's people who are booing. Obviously, we know the piped in noises for John Cena has always been a thing. Even he has said it. So, I mean, I'm happy to see John Cena back on my screen because I think legend superstar. But I had a lot of questions.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the what the hell is the crowd doing for me. With everyone in the front row, absolute huge wrestling fan, all in, signs, dedicated, children, kids, man, adults, like all the all the things. Man babies, I meant to say, man adults, not a thing. Everyone's in the front row. Everyone's all excited. But then the rest of the night, they missed every call and response. They sort of ignored the wrestlers when the wrestlers talked directly to them. Like Hershey was very confused about where they were and what they were doing. And I also texted you as I was watching this. Has Cena's ears always been that big? Cena's ears haven't been that big this whole time, have they?
I want to say that, they've kind of gotten bigger as his career has went on. Now, I will say they're not as bad. Like, the worst I've ever seen in WWE is like a couple years ago before they got drained, but Randy Orton's ears were really, really bad at one point.
Sure.
Like, I
I
was
mean,
like, sir, can you hear me? Levels of inflamed. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's not quite like, cauliflower ear, but it's not quite like I'm a 90-year-old grandpa ears where your ears are just massive. I don't know if it was the hat he was wearing or what, but I was like, damn, John Cena, you got huge ass ears. What happened to you?
I don't know, John, and if they get any bigger, you better be careful because the breeze will blow you away.
True.
Fly
He
away
don't have,
with those things.
and he don't have to pay for flights. I So John Cena comes out, says thank you to the crowd, talks about his match in India. Thankfully, does not promote his movie, which I was expecting him to do, like The Rock used to do 20 years
Oh
ago. Check
my
out this
god.
movie I'm
It
in.
still kind of
So
does to
he
a certain
refrained from
extent.
that, even though the commercials were there. So I'm glad that he refrained from doing that. He starts stacking the crowd, and then Jimmy Uso's music plays,
So,
like this angry new heel music plays.
I mean,
Jimmy,
yeah, I was like, what is happening? But
yeah,
before this, too, like, the biggest question that I had was like, promoting the India, like, house show that's not going to be televised. Sure, fine.
sure,
And then he's like, guess what, guys? I'm the host of Payback. I'm like, no, I hate when they have
yeah.
hosts for pay-per-views.
Why? Even SummerSlam got messy. Yeah, Snoop Dogg and The Miz. It was like, this is messy, and we all kind of know how that ended day two.
Snoop Dogg is
Uh,
still MVP for me for saving night 2 of WrestleMania after Shane blew out his quads.
I mean, Snoop Dogg kind of saved that
He did.
day.
He saved it. I was like, that's
uh,
how you improv.
the Miz kind of didn't know what to do, and then Snoop just turned and went, "I'm gonna hit you, bam!" And it was like, "Oh, that just happened. Hey, great." Uh,
We have a special guest entering the chat.
hey, there's somebody here. What's up?
What's up, Louise?
What's going on, guys?
Hey,
Just give me
man.
1 second so I can get my stuff up. I don't know if my stuff can get up here. Hold on a second. I
Awesome.
mean, that's what she said.
Oh.
Hi-yo. That joke writes itself.
Just like this opening promo, apparently.
John Cena rambling.
Listen, I wanna make this clear. I will forever today love John Cena again. His humanitarian work speaks for itself.
Sure.
But, every time he returns, as much as I love him, and I at this point I don't blame him. I blame creative for letting him just be as savage as it is, because every single time he returns,
Oh man.
he always enters some sort of promo off with whoever is gonna come at him. And not to say that the careers take a massive hit, but John Cena like just destroys, annihilates, eviscerates people on the mic. Like
And
he
I
he did.
I wasn't watching wrestling at his peak, obviously. I was sort of away for a while, but I remember hearing about him on the mic and how great he was. And after he kind of picked apart Jimmy last night, the Twitter or the X or whatever it's called and Instagram sort of had a John Cena greatest hits montage going through the Instagram and just him crushing all kinds of people. Like, oh my god. He went after The Rock and Roman a few times, which were gorgeous. There's a few other one, Randy Orton, obviously. There's a few in there that are just like,
Right.
you.
Finally, there we go.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on? Got
Hey.
new digs. I didn't really share the news, but I moved, so.
Hey. Moving on up.
Good news, bad news. Is it a good move?
Oh yeah, it's a good move. Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Good move for the kids. Moved into the house, and
Yeah.
yeah. So we're good. So now I have like a little office,
Oh,
But my son decorated it with some Disney stuff. So.
I mean
That's
So this is what you've missed so far. We just barely started. We're going over John Cena's weird promo and then Jimmy Uso speaking the same nonsense as he was after SummerSlam. I'm I have so many questions, and the questions just kept coming as the night goes on. But Jimmy gets in Cena's face and just spouts the same thing that he has been. I did it for Jay. He's gonna turn into Roman. I was just like, sir, the storytelling doesn't make sense here. This we're still on this. Okay, sure, fine.
He has that line
Yeah.
of "I'm gonna be, I don't want to be corrupted just like you," and John Cena's there relaxing. Like, what does that even mean? Like,
Yeah.
what are you kind of poking holes and weird shit here? I kind of see what they're doing, but it had really fell flat.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what we're looking to get out of this. I don't know if they're gonna build the angle far past here, but it looks like what John Cena's on for the next 8 Smackdowns. They said like that they put out a schedule, right?
Sure, I
Yeah.
heard
So
this is true. Yeah.
I'm assuming we're gonna get a pay-per-view match with Jimmy and Cena, and I guess that means that I'm guessing that means that AJ and Cena are gonna join forces. Because why
That might
else
be
would they do that?
yeah. That's the only way this works, really.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm not a fan of it. After I knew that John Cena was going to come back for 8 shows, I thought to myself, why not put him on Raw? Why not have Nakamura win tonight? Have John Cena hit 17 on Nakamura. That way you save Seth Rollins, and then Damian Priest cashes in on Cena. But we'll see.
See, and that's like what we say around here. If it makes sense, they're not gonna do it. Like that's
Yeah.
like I can totally see how that works.
Yeah, that I feel like that would work for all parties. It would save Seth Rollins, but getting back to this, I honestly thought the promo was really weird. John
Yeah.
Cena hasn't cut a promo this weird in a long time. He's normally like a solid promo guy. So
And as solid as he was, Jay is way more confident on the mic than Jimmy, and I wonder if they're trying to get Jimmy in a position to where, hey Jimmy, take the reins. Can you get on the mic? They're even pushing Solo a little bit more, like, hey Solo, you gotta talk. You gotta get these spots where you can get the dialogue out there. We gotta get you moving a little more. I don't know if he's confident or if he's way in his head about it. And both of you would understand this too. A lot of wrestlers tend to go, yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll riff on it. I'll figure it out. I'll go out there. Just give me some bullet points. Not everyone has that power. Sometimes you walk out there and immediately you take that breath and go, I don't know what to say. And John Cena is just gonna gave him a chance to respond and sort of sat in it and waited for him, like, come on, come at me. But
yeah. Yeah, I didn't really dig it. I agree with you about like Jimmy and Jay and who's better with the promos. I definitely think there's a reason they call him main event Jay because he's ready for the main event.
Yeah.
But in terms of Solo, I think he's gonna surprise you with his promo because I think out of all of them, he might be on par or if not better than Roman Reigns is with the on the mic. He is a naturally gifted talker. There's a couple segments where he talked in NXT and you could tell like
so good.
Whatever they were having him do worked for him perfectly. So I'm wondering if this is a way to get him more out there, kind of like, hey, I'm gonna lead this stable right now until the quote unquote tribal chief comes back.
Yeah. Dude's great on camera. Like he knows exactly when to freeze and let the camera come in, and he holds his mark, and he's in the moment. And like Solo's got it figured out. I'm excited. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I know you cut the promo, but I'm excited to see what Solo does.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Honestly.
Yeah. Did you find it weird that there were 4 segments with Jimmy involved?
Okay, we'll talk about that as the show goes on. But like,
Okay,
I was just like, bro, like, there's no advancing storyline. Like it's just the same angry Jimmy, and it kind of kicks off because towards the end of this, Jimmy tries. He says the same things that we've been hearing for the last couple weeks, and then Cena doesn't even have to say anything much because once again, Cena just one sentence is all he needs. Is just like the wrong Uso quit, and then poor Jimmy is on the receiving end of an attitude adjustment.
Yeah.
Why did he say, I've been waiting to say this for 3 years?
I don't know. Again, this was a really weird promo.
Say this to you for 3 years, the wrong Uso quit. That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I mean. I feel like Cena's out of it. This is so strange to me.
Like for the last 3 years since I kind of stopped showing up.
So I have this thought. I have this thought when I saw John Cena yesterday, and let me run it past you guys to see what you think. I thought to myself when he like took his shirt off and did the classic thing, I was like, wow, physically he looks better than he did at WrestleMania, but where's the WrestleMania talking ability?
Seriously.
Like
Yeah.
that when he was talking to Austin Theory, he was like
Oh yeah.
really shredding
Yeah.
him. So I was like, "What'd you do? Flip your body for your like speech? Like what's going on here?"
Quite possible. John Cena is one of the few superstars, wrestlers, whatever you want to say, that got smaller and looked healthier. Right?
Yeah.
Like some dudes get massive, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, okay. And then as you see them get older and get smaller, you're like, oh, okay. You got smaller, and I was like, oh, you've done the cardio. You probably helped your heart out. You look a little better this way. Why don't you stay right there for a while?
I wouldn't be surprised if he contacted Hogan. That's kind of like Hogan looked better in the 90s than he did in the 80s. He was super beefy in the 80s. In the
Mm-hmm.
90s when he was Hollywood, he cut, he got shredded a little bit. He kind of beefed back up in WWF or WWE when he came back, but yeah, he said on multiple occasions the whole 5 moves of doom thing. He got that from Hogan, not the move set, not why he used those, but Hogan told him for longevity purposes, you have to keep your feet on the ground, and that's why he does what he does.
That's fair.
Yeah. So this opens up SmackDown, and I was like, okay, this was kind of weird, but I guess we'll see where the rest of the show leads.
This is my home city. I could tell you that place was rocking. I had lots of people texting me asking me why I wasn't there, and I was like, well, because I messed up and I had my fantasy football draft yesterday too.
Dang.
We were talking. So Hershey, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
50 minutes from my house.
So we were talking about the crowd, and you might have caught this too. The crowd seemed into it, but they missed a
Yes,
lot of
always.
the call and response and sort of wrestlers calling them out bits. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that was just random or what. I felt like they were in it, but I'm wondering if that was more of like a pacing of the show threw them off some, like the whiplash of what's going on, or if it was the crowd itself, or what do you think? Because I feel like it's a wrestling town.
Well, yeah, no, it definitely is, and I could tell you, you're gonna notice later. I can promise you. What happened to my thing? Am I still here?
There you go.
Yes, you
You're
are. You're here.
What I was gonna say is, yeah, what you notice later on in the day, I can promise you, I have been to 4 shows in this state: Philly, Reading, Pennsylvania, Hershey, and Pittsburgh. And Bobby Lashley is super over here. That was not fake. That was not piped in. I don't know what it is about Bobby, but they love him here, and he's from Colorado, so I don't get it. I mean, no, I get it. I love Bobby Lashley. He's great, but I mean, like, yeah, I just don't understand why he translates to the audience so much. I mean, I watched him wrestle Mr. Kennedy and Fit Finley in a United States Championship match on SmackDown once, and the crowd was rocking. But I got here from one of my friends that was there yesterday. He said the pop of the night definitely goes to John Cena and LA Knight.
For sure.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Interesting.
we'll talk about Mr. LA Knight in a bit, but after this opening segment, we cut backstage where we get a backstage interview because randomly Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, sure, they're friends now, I guess. And they're talking about John Cena and then how they're going to beat up Rey Mysterio and Santos because they have a match.
How tall is Kayla?
I'm assuming like 5'4". She's got to be like
5'4", 5'3". If that's true, those guys are massive.
yeah.
didn't
I
realize
think
that.
Grayson is like what 6'2". Oh,
It gotta be 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Because
Yeah.
just her holding the mic up and them talking down to the mic to her is like, oh my god,
yeah.
this is a crazy ass camera angle. Anyway, I wrote that down. Go ahead, keep
Yeah.
going, Mike.
So, I mean, this is just hyping up the match we get in a little bit. And then this was pit stop number 1 for the tour of angry Jimmy Uso because he's just backstage yelling at like people backstage, just being angry. I was like, sir, I need you to take it a couple down and notches. Like, it's not that deep. I was like, it really is not that deep. And it was so weird because
Not to go cliche acting teacher, but there was no real motivation for him to do any of that stuff.
No, that was so strange. It felt so out of place too. Like I get that the objective was to have like Solo inevitably, how it happens. I'm not gonna ruin the show since we're going in order here. But I get that that was the motivation of it. But what he said, it just was like, what are you, a toddler? Like it was so strange to me.
You're right. There is a sense of like I'm sure all the parents understand, and Mikey, someday you might too, where there's this sense of just like, okay, you want to pick up your toys and go home, then pick up your toys and go home.
Yeah.
And pick up your toys and go home, and then finally we get pick up your toys and go home, and he still doesn't go home.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and then he goes, "Yeah, okay, I guess I'll go home." It's like, why did you go
Yeah.
home an hour ago?
I don't know. It's very strange to me. That's his
Anyway,
second segment now.
yeah. So now we're at 2.
Yeah.
And
Now
it
we're
keeps
2.
going. So then, after all this happens, we get to the actual first match of SmackDown tonight. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller taking on LWO, which in this iteration, because we'll see more of LWO later, this time being represented by Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. So, maybe you two could give me your input. I'm of the mindset I hate, hate. I mean, granted that Ray didn't get the pin, but I don't like champions losing matches, especially before pay-per-views. Granted that Ray didn't take the pin here, but I'm just like, Santos is once again has been jobbed out and he's getting pinned left and right, just like his towards the end of NXT, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal. Are they going to play this "I'm going to chop block you and hurt your leg every night" thing with Santos for the rest of his career?
Probably.
That's a shame.
I don't know. I had two different thoughts on this match when I watched it. One, which is going to be a constant theme that I talk about here, it was really rushed. I felt this match was super short.
Mikey and I talked about that before we got on the air. Like, it seemed everything was at least a minute to 30 seconds rushed. Every spot was like, go, go, go. We're stuck.
Yeah,
stuck,
the only
stuck.
match that was given time was Shotzi's match, which I'm happy with because both women are talented, super talented.
Yeah.
But getting back to this, I felt like it was super rushed, and I don't know if this is intentional, but it makes me feel like they're not a team. If LWO comes out and then Rey Mysterio's music hits, like I don't care if you're honoring the dude, and you're essentially turning Dom into a face because he's calling you out for wanting to
I
be the guy. Like,
know.
and he's right.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the purpose of that. That's
See,
the first
yeah.
takeaway I had. I was like, why does he get his own theme music?
Uh-huh.
So
I don't
That's
know.
jarring to me too. And then there was another. I mean, I didn't have any problems with the match, with kind of how it ended. Okay, fine, I see. Did Austin Theory grab Ray's mask and yank it when they were on the ropes? Did anyone else see that?
I didn't see that.
There's
No.
one more where he pulls him, and it looks like he goes up and grabs the mask, and there's something. The camera cuts away hella fast, and then they go back into something else. And I was like, "Stop touching luchadors' masks!
Listen,
What are you doing?"
I've already
I don't
stated my
understand.
displeasure for that trope, especially with a couple weeks ago on Dynamite with Penta and Claudio. Claudio was on my shit list, so to speak, for a couple of
Oh, sure.
weeks, especially because he
And-
wore the thing afterwards, and I was just like,
Well, that's interesting. He got the highest marks from Eric Bischoff for their Stampede match, so I think that's interesting that he's on your poopy list there.
Interesting. So I didn't hate this match. I
Yeah.
agree. The stuff going into it and the stuff going out of it were kind of like, okay, but they all were cleaning the ring and it was interesting to watch. Grayson Waller impresses me every time now.
Absolutely.
Like, I finally got to see him wrestle because I'm relatively new to him and his career and what he's doing. I'm like, oh, you're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. More of that, please. Great. You're a heel? Great. Cool. Cause all the trouble you want. I'm in.
Absolutely. He tells a great story, man. Just the way he does things, the way he the way he flows from one move to another. You could tell everything is thought out. It's not just like I'm gonna go out, like you said, go out there and just wing it. He definitely plans his stuff. I'm not gonna say he's like Randy Savage or Diamond Dallas Page planner, because those guys would write an entire script.
Ricky
But
Steamboat or some of these
yeah,
other folks.
Ricky.
Like, it's
Yeah,
gotta be exact. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not gonna say all that, but I definitely feel like he's a pro's pro. You could tell whoever worked with this guy, whoever trained him, they did really right by him because he's on his way up.
And he's got that catch wrestling Australian UK style of like, I can go move to move to move to move 1,000 times. Dean Malenko type
Absolutely.
stuff. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Where do you want to go? I'm gonna feel you, and we can go wherever you want. And he can kick into that anytime.
Yeah.
For sure. And of course, Austin and Grayson pick up the win here. Now, according to reports, allegedly, I'm interested to see if this ends up being true. But obviously, we're setting up Santos versus Ray at some point for that title. Now, and I spoke on this a few times before. The two paths that WWE has in front of them is they can either do face versus face and be student versus teacher, or, and this is not necessarily my favorite, but because I liked heel Legado del Fantasma in NXT better than I do them as faces, because at least they were a credible threat. Heel Santos versus face Ray. is interesting, but I don't know. I'm just like I'm still of the opinion that Santos should have been the one to take it off Austin. I'm not mad that Ray has it. That means he's a transitional champion for all this. But
And
man,
is all of this because of the concussion protocol that Ray was in? Like, is that what kind of threw this off the rails?
I don't know because he lost the match,
Right.
and then
the plan I think was always for
so I
Ray
don't
to
know.
lose. Yeah.
That's what it seemed like to me, but I don't know. This story's weird.
Yeah, it just got really convoluted and sort of where are we going? Like
Yeah.
they didn't pull the trigger soon enough, or they were waiting for something else to happen, or I don't know.
Yeah. SmackDown right now has been interesting cuz it seems like there's a lot of storylines, but it's starting to spin their wheels, kind of like Raw is starting to. Both Raw and SmackDown have feel like the last couple of weeks they've been spinning their wheels in terms of we know what we're getting next, but they're like, oh snap, so we got to get through Payback first, and then we can start telling these new stories we got, which is fine, I guess. But speaking of things like not really going anywhere either, this was the second spot where we get Jimmy Uso throwing a tantrum backstage. This time in front of Mia Yim and Adam Pierce. Oh, Mia, what are we doing with you, girl?
I don't know.
I love Mia.
To be
It
quite
hurts.
honest with you, yeah, I think Mia is being underutilized. I think that whole group is. I mean, I
Yeah.
I called Anderson and Gallows like enhancement talent a couple weeks ago because I was just like they're just go out there to just job. Like that's pretty much it. They're just putting guys over. So I don't know what the objective is, but if we need to make them look strong and we need to make Mia look strong if we're gonna add AJ and Roman together, which it looks
Right.
like that's what's happening here.
AJ Roman, AJ Cena.
AJ Roman like one on one.
Oh, for sure. See,
Yeah.
that would be.
I'm here
I
for
would
it.
love.
Like
I would love to see that.
the OC versus, which I find it weird that they named it that after like a stupid television show that only lasted 4 seasons.
That's what I said last month.
I hate.
So,
So the other thing too is I hate for what OC stands for. I'm like the original club. I'm like, really? That's the most original thing you could come up with? Like,
but it's
really?
not the original club.
It's
It would be
not.
the original club if it was Balor, Gallows, and Anderson.
Listen, we have had multiple iterations of Bullet Club throughout the years, and I'm just like, you guys, like,
If you're gonna
no.
call it the original, you
Yes.
need Balor in that group.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Again, Jimmy going room to room throwing tantrums is going to turn off every parent who's watching. It's just going to be like, no, you're a 38-year-old man. Just go home. Like you're
Absolutely.
go take a nap, go have a drink, and go home. Like, what are you doing?
And we thought we were getting this because we'll talk about it later. Is like the tantrum moment that actually made sense to me later. He's like, yeah, I'm going home. Yeah, but we'll talk about it. So then we get probably my outside of LA Knight and Mrs. Promo. The crowd was up for this one. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits in the ring cutting a promo. I'm like, yes, give me Bobby, give me the Street Profits.
I love
I'm
seeing
excited.
them. I love him coming in. I love his entrance. I love the Street Profits there. The only thing that was anticlimactic to me was like, and we're friends now. Yeah, good. And then
Yeah.
they leave.
I feel like that. Okay, that I feel like that didn't even need to be said because like we as an audience kind of made that clarification. We came to that understanding because we've seen them
Yeah.
spend time together weeks after week after week with these segments and talking, and Bobby's like bringing them out, like bringing them new wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, like didn't need to be said, but I think that was said for maybe the casual wrestling fans because we watch this on a week to week basis and we've kind of put the two and two together. But somebody who doesn't keep up with it as regularly as we do probably needed that to be spelled out. But even then, that was weird. They said it and then they left.
Yeah.
Haven't they been doing this since like SummerSlam? Like we've been seeing this for a long time.
Yeah, for Bobby to come out by himself, cut a promo, introduce the Street Profits, Street Profits. I'm sorry. I was looking for a more definitive reason, like, hey, the three of us, we've decided we're tired of being shelved, and we're here to take over SmackDown. So
Absolutely.
Roman, watch your back. Kevin and Sammy, watch your back, and then boom,
There
that's
you
where
go.
Kevin Owens' music hits. But that's not what happened.
I want to see, yeah, call somebody out
Mm,
or bring in someone other talent. Like it's
mm,
us and so and so. Like, oh, now there's a few folks in this
mm.
faction we already kind of knew about. Otherwise, it was just we're a bunch of friends. We're gonna do some damage someday.
I agree with that. And I definitely want to see Bobby Lashley scoping out the women's division.
Yeah,
Like, I
Seriously,
getting
want that.
get the
getting some
women
folks.
that like get the women that we don't get to see a lot on television to scope out the women's division. I mean, the rumored plan is whenever, because right now Bianca is taking some time off. She's not injured; she's just taking
She
some
lost her
time off.
smile. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think because the plan is allegedly that Bianca will join this faction, which I'm here for. Join her actual husband Montez Ford and just run through
She's a
it.
brilliant heel. I know she doesn't want to be a
Oh,
heel because of all like the John Cena stuff that she does outside of wrestling, but if you go back to NXT, she's a brilliant heel.
There's a way to be a heel without being extremely evil because Bianca's NXT heel days was just the very confident
Mm.
girl whose skills back up the smack talk.
and then she would, and then she'd whip you across the stomach, and you'd get like
If that
10
means we
stitches.
get the braid back where she hits people with the braid, I'm here
Woo!
for it. I'm here for it.
Listen, the
Everybody,
fact that she went to that concert and posted photos and she didn't kayfabe it and she showed her real
yeah.
hair, I was so upset. I was like, "How dare you?" I was like, "Come on!" Like, of course, like I like what I see here, but come on, lady, like
I
keep it
will. Yep.
kayfabe, you know?
Yeah, but I will say Montez Ford definitely won that night for getting the Beyonce concert tickets for Bianca.
Nope. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, I love their
A
relationship.
military
They're great.
discount helps. I'm sure.
Seriously,
I'm sure.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So, I mean, I enjoyed this segment. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic that I hope SmackDown actually does right by these three because I feel like especially Bobby, I feel like since coming back the last 3 or 4 years or so, I feel like he's always gotten short end of the stick for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like I try to purge the Lana wedding out of my head. That was a weird time for
You
wrestling in
know what?
general.
I don't know what Lana's doing. I'm sure she's super successful in whatever she's doing. I will, and I know this is something that would catch hate on a normal basis, but I really think Lana, if you really wanted to get a guy like Karrion crossover, don't have him out there with the most uncharismatic female you could possibly have. Like,
Ugh,
put him with Lana, somebody who can sell him to the crowd the way she did
seriously.
Rusev. Because
Sure.
Scarlett can't talk, and you could tell she can't.
No, and honestly, I feel like Scarlett were weirdly enough, I feel like Scarlett to me only because I've seen her be a face. She works better if she's a face and teamed up with someone who can talk. Like she was in the comedic spots when she and Karrion were in Impact Wrestling before jumping to NXT, and I was just like, I need people to remember like Scarlett can actually wrestle. That's the thing that people don't realize. And I WWE just let Scarlett wrestle, please. Like actual
Yeah.
wrestle. She's been
Yeah.
trained. Like she actually knows what she's
41
doing.
women's wrestlers, we see the same six.
Uh,
And of those six, only 3 to 4 wrestle every 2 weeks.
I mean, this has been their thing. You go back to the Attitude Era, we got the same
Uh
people.
huh.
That's why they
Absolutely.
created the hardcore title so we can get other people in it. And even when they realize the hardcore title isn't enough, hey, have Kurt Angle win the hardcore title. That makes sense.
Yeah, just throw Kurt in there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I remember that. That was
yeah.
right around the time I stopped watching.
There you go.
That's a
Seriously.
calendar point for me. I remember this.
It's
Like,
like
wait,
this is
what?
the exact point I remember where I
Wait,
stopped
you
for
put
a little
Shane
bit.
McMahon through the wrong window twice? Oh
Ooh,
my
yeah.
Oh
That
my
was rough.
gosh.
god.
So, speaking of things that were rough, it was rough seeing my boys in LWO continue to take a loss. Because as soon as this promo ends and Street Profits and Bobby are walking up stage, KO and Sammy's music hits. I'm like, okay, cool, we're getting a tag match. And then I saw who was coming out. I'm like, finally, this is what I've been asking for. Cruz Del Toro and Joaquin Wild finally in a tag team match. Oh, they're gonna lose, aren't they? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, this should be fun. You get time. 2 minutes later, what the fuck did I watch? I was so upset.
Yeah, so yeah, it was brutal. I'm ashamed to admit this, and I knew who they were, but I wrote the question down just to kind of needle Mikey. But I wrote in my notes and I screenshotted it to Mikey. who are the other two guys in LWO, and how come they don't wrestle? And then Mikey went, "You shut your mouth." And then they
See,
showed up, and I was like,
yeah.
"Okay, they're using them, great." And then they got squashed. I was like, "Why?"
The thing is, like, you would think it would be really important because this is like classic LWO tactic. Like, one of the members of LWO is not Latino. He's not. So it makes sense to like, oh, let's talk about like let's get him more out there because then it's like okay, it's uniting like nations and stuff. But no,
Sure.
those guys are just enhancement talent, man. Like it's the second time I've said that on here. I feel like that's a theme because
And it hurt.
they lost this match faster than Christopher Reeve saved a kitten from a tree. It is
Oh.
insane.
Yes. Uh,
Well done. Well said. I
Oh,
agree.
thanks. Yeah, this was faster than the first match, right?
seriously.
Yeah.
This,
And they had one or two spots. I mean, he had that Pele kick on the apron, which was kind of smooth. There was a few other things inside and outside the ring, but all of a sudden it was like, nope, Kevin Owens got tagged. You got 45 seconds. It's done.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay, time's up. The ref called. The ref said, take it home. All right, well.
What'd you think of the promo after?
uh, um,
I had something to say. What did I write down? I said, did I delete it?
while he looks for it, I'll give mine.
Yeah.
You know, because I watched Raw 2 this week, and while mildly, how do I put this? Again, I don't feel like it was bad, but it's, again, the same thing that I heard on Raw, and the same thing that I've been hearing from these two for the last couple of weeks, anyways, in different iterations. I'm like, you guys, you keep calling out the Judgment Day. I was just like, again, and I've been saying this for months, the vortex that is Judgment Day boys, Sammy, KO, and to a certain extent Cody. I'm just like, can we, after tonight at Payback, I just want to be done with Sammy and KO and the Judgment Day boys for a little bit. I'm like, please, can we be done? Like, Finn and Damian keep losing in some respects, in some iteration. The the 6-man tags, they always end up losing anyways, whether it's Dominic getting pinned, Finn getting pinned makes me upset. And I think Damian has gotten pinned, I think, like once or twice in this whole thing. I'm like, you got what? Rhea Ripley just needs to go. She needs to go. Like, she is the one actually running the show here for Judgment Day, but now she's kind of fading into the background.
Yeah,
And
she's got her own story.
she has her own. I
I-
honestly, her and Dominic on NXT have been my best parts of Judgment Day because now that the faction is somewhat split up, at least again, I finally got what I wanted because Rhea versus Lyra, both in that singles match and the mixed tag match they had at Heatwave, that is what I want to see. Lyra and Rhea one-on-one was phenomenal. That mixed tag was great. Rhea just needs to be out here actually wrestling, and wrestling in the sense that give them like 10, 15 minutes. Don't be having. She's squashed most of the women's division, so you're not helping yourself building up a credible threat. Just like this promo, it's a foregone conclusion that Finn and Damian are probably losing again in this match for the
I
tag
wrote down
titles.
that it was sort of. I wrote down that it was sort of two anticlimactic promos in a row, because we had this big Bobby Lashley Street Profits. We're all friends. We're gonna go. Like, okay. And then we had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We're gonna see you tomorrow. Great. I already knew that. Yeah. Anything else I need to know? But again, like we were talking about, like rushed, like sort of, hey, you have 4 minutes plus a promo. Go, go, go. You
Yeah.
only have this much time. Go, go, go. Hey, this happened. You got keep it quick. Like, okay, like so they were being told or coached to move quicker than I think they wanted to.
Stuck out to me was the messenger and the message. I felt like I was watching Freaky Friday because Sami Zayn cut a Kevin Owens promo.
That was
Good
so.
call.
It was like so weird. I was like, "What is happening?"
I thought to myself, I was like, since when are you angry? Since when? Like, you're supposed to be the cool, calm, collected one. I thought this was very strange.
I'm
That
like,
stuck
yep.
out the most. I paid attention more to that than the words he actually said.
Seriously, I'm like, Sami Zayn, you're like the yoga dad between you and Kevin Owens. You're supposed to be the let's find the inner Zen piece kind of thing.
Since Elimination Chamber, he's been that yoga teacher vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he looks the part with the fun and everything.
I'm the guru. Welcome to my studio. That's not what we do here.
Namaste.
Kevin look even crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. This is the first time we've sort of seen him a little unnerved
Yeah.
going into something, which
And
I don't know.
I've seen some people say, "Oh, Sammy has to get this edge because it's a street fight for those tag titles tonight at Payback." I'm like, but even still, let Kevin Owens be literally the hit dog in this, tag
Yeah.
team, because that's what Kevin's whole thing is since he's been in WWE. This man's is the hit dog, and a hit dog will holler, according to the statement that people say. It's just like he's just gonna go out there and wreck everybody and get out of there. I
Yeah.
don't know, man. So after this, then we get the third Jey Uso tantrum, but this is the only time it actually really, really worked, kind of. Because it kind of worked until we got that AJ Styles interview after said thing that happened. So, so, so Jimmy's leaving, he gets his stuff, and he's about to leave, and then all of a sudden
Hey
AJ
guys,
Styles,
I'm getting a phone call from my boss here. Can I just click out for a second?
yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Over here.
Okay. Thank you.
So, uh, let's see. So Jimmy's leaving, and AJ confronts him. I was like, okay, cool. I still got questions, but color me intrigued. And then they start fighting. I was like, yes, this is where the tantrum works, because it's like, yo, man, you better get out of my face. And then AJ shoves him. Then Jimmy shoves back, and then they start fighting. And then Solo just comes out of nowhere and just like decks AJ.
These things drive me nuts because it's obvious Solo was right there, and these backstage promos drive me nuts when it's like, yeah, Solo's 4 feet away arguing. You say him. Uh, Jimmy took a fall
Ooh,
maybe inches away from whatever that rack of chairs and stuff was.
like,
Like that
sir.
could have been game over quick.
And
So
yes, it was great because Solo comes out, and then the rest of the OC come up to AJ, like Carl Anderson and them, and then Mia comes out, and then they talk about it, and then you know AJ cuts this backstage interview. It's just like, oh, okay, so Jimmy versus AJ, that should be fun. No, I want Solo. I'm like,
I
really?
want Solo.
That's the person you're mad at, not the fact that Jimmy was the one who got in your face, was yelling at you, was talking, like, really got up in your grill and shoved you. But I guess you want Solo because he pushed you to the ground, but like he was only there because Jimmy was being assaulted, essentially. Like, what? This was
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Go
so
ahead.
weird.
Go
I'm
ahead.
like, AJ, I feel like you picked the wrong opponent, but okay, sure.
I feel like there was a part of me that was hoping that it was going to be tomorrow payback. I'll see you, Jimmy. Like there was a part of like maybe we get that added to the card. Maybe this is just an arbitrary way of saying let's get you two involved somehow or something to lead to today for payback, as opposed to just who I want. I want Solo. Jimmy's the one who ran his mouth, or or something there. Yeah. So this was a little. I'm glad they're using AJ Styles more. I've been talking about this for a year. Like, how come? Where's AJ Styles? Oh, AJ Styles is here. Why is he in mid card purgatory? So I'm kind of glad. I'm really glad that AJ Styles is getting reps and getting pushed a little again, sort of in the mix again. I do agree with Lewis and this whole OC madness of like that's holding back a lot of this stuff. What do we do with him? How are we? How do we arc this? What's going on? Again, I think all the Jimmy promos from this was like maybe, I don't know, 90 seconds. And it was 90 seconds cut into 5 with AJ Styles at the end. So I don't know when or how they shot him. But it just kind of, again, came off sort of, hey, we got like 30 minutes to shoot 5 of these. Let's go. Like it just felt rushed.
It was weird, but our main event tonight gets set up right here. It's going to be AJ versus Solo. Sure, AJ versus Jimmy probably would have made more sense, but we'll talk about the match when we get to the main event, because I was just like, what? Are we in Bizarro World? Like, what happened? So,
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
So we get the next part that was amazing. So Miz makes his entrance. So this is Miz and LA Knight promo off round 2, so to speak. So Miz makes his entrance. He gets on the mic because he starts out in the ring by himself, and he literally basically says tomorrow, payback. LA Knight's gonna have the biggest match of his career, And like Miz is like, actually, that's not an insult. Like this man is about to have a big time match at Payback against me, and we saw how easy it was for LA Knight to be on Raw, and then he starts doing the backhanded compliment stuff that Miz has become famous for. It's just like LA Knight is only not half the star that Miz was 10 years ago, and before Miz could continue, LA Knight, yeah, his music hits,
Mhm.
and then he comes out. I love that he breaks the fourth wall too, and he calls it out because the first thing that LA Knight like lists off is like Miz's little cosplay moments, because Miz came out dressed as Rock to mock him, dressed as John Cena and Nikki Bella during that whole era, and now he did it to LA Knight too.
Which I
And
will say, the Mrs. LA Knight impression is really funny. I
me,
thought it
that
was
was
pretty
like
funny.
my favorite promo segment from Monday Night Raw. In all honesty, me and Minnie were like, "This is great. We love this so
So
much."
I'm all in on LA Knight and the story arc and him, and I love what he's doing, and I'm having a blast watching him kind of blow up the last 6 months or so. Uh, I will be completely honest. His words and word choices and rhetoric, and he was kind of in his head for this one. It wasn't
It was
the
weird.
well, wasn't the confident, pointed, I'm gonna bark right at you and get confident thing. It was way, and the Miz came off to me way smoother, way more seasoned and confident in this one. And I don't know why they're in their head, or again, it speaks to me of meddling behind the scenes and timing and whatnot, or possibly, but I don't want to let him off the hook. He still did his job. It was still pretty solid. He gets rocked by the Miz at the end, so fine. But not the strongest words and that we've seen, like collecting of thoughts and putting those comments on there. There's one or two. I tried to write them down, but even I don't understand my notes of what he said. So that just speaks to me that I have no idea what he's talking about. The Miz had a joke for everything LA Knight said. So again, this came off to me as like, let's go in the ring, let's riff a little bit, and let's play off each other. Here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm thinking. All of Miz's jokes landed. Back when you were a kid watching the Attitude Era, playing with your hairbrush, this and this, like every joke landed. All of LA Knights were kind of off or mistimed a little bit, which
Hmm.
was interesting. Normally we see him a little smoother.
So I want to run a conspiracy theory by you.
A conspiracy theory, you say?
Yes. So, and in few cases, it's usually, but WWE's biggest trope to me when they have these feuds, it's always face versus heel, as with, WWE normally doesn't have like heel on heel, face on face, or like they don't really have a lot of superstars that can successfully be the in betweeners too. So I have a conspiracy theory because I know LA Knight can go on the mic and he can dig into people,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but I'm wondering if he's been told to tone down the insults a little bit because technically he's the face in this scenario. So usually, like the
Man.
archetypal tropes of a face is that you're the good guy. We want to cheer for you. You're not afraid to hit below the belt, but you try to stay above board for most of it. And I'm spoiled with LA Knight because formerly known as Eli Drake in Impact, he just went in on anybody and everybody in Impact, but that's because he was a heel. I feel that my conspiracy theory is that this promo, and then the first time him and Miz face like went toe to toe on the mic a couple weeks ago on Raw, I feel like LA Knight has to dial it back a little bit because he's supposed to be the face in this, so
Hmm.
be he can't be digging in. I mean, he still got some stuff in, like the comment he made about LA Knight's gonna be bringing Miz back to Maurice, which is Miz's wife, battered and bruised, and
Mm-hmm.
that she's going to be empty because of how broken he is. But all
Mm-hmm.
she needs to do is just call LA Knight, and that'd be a quick fist. The innuendo writes itself.
Yeah. But I see, and now that you've said that, that makes sense to me because there's a different punchline to that joke that would have landed way harder. You know what I mean? So no, I kind of buy that. My child is asking me a question.
But yeah, I
Sorry about
still
that.
I still enjoyed
I
it.
just
It wasn't the
I still
strongest, but
it wasn't the strongest. I enjoyed it. I agree with you on that. I I kind of agree with your conspiracy theory to a point. I wonder if someone got to him. If it was Pritchard or somebody else, or was like, "Hey, tone it down just a little. You're still the face here." But again, if that's the case, that's a huge mistake because they should be putting all in on this because it's play the hot hand. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Again, I'm just this is just my brain thinking, and I don't have any actual proof on it, but from watching WWE for the last 10 years or so, since because I literally started being super invested when I went away for college, and then it's kind of continued until now. I don't know. I know LA Knight can go harder on the mic like that, and he was stumbling a little bit. The hits didn't really go as much, but then again, hot take here, but I feel like Miz's promo skills have always been one of the top things that when we talk about Miz, I think his promo skills are always on point, and in this one, Miz kind of not necessarily ran like through LA Knight, but LA Knight kind of struggled with this one.
you think he struggled? Yeah. That's what we were talking about, Lewis. Is this heads up promo was
Yeah,
LA
yeah.
Knight was
First
LA
of all,
Knight
I
was
apologize for that. Super unprofessional. But
We're
we're doing a
good.
podcast in our houses, man. We're not.
well, I'm just saying. But yeah, getting onto this. So like, what we say in my language is "se lo comió," like he ate him up. Like that's what I felt like because.
I've
So
heard that.
I've actually yeah I've actually thought I've thought about this for a long time. The Miz is really good at promos. He's one of the best ever, and I think he will be talked about with like Punk and Piper
Oh,
and all
easy.
those guys. Flair, Dusty. But the problem is that WWE over the past like 5 years, they've kind of made him one note. It's always like I'm the super underappreciated superstar. I could be the top guy of this brand. You never let me. I have to make everything matter. It's the same promo over and over and over. But he's not doing that with LA Knight right now. He's actually. I think they're like, we need you to go out there. We need you to like attack him. You need to be the orca to his shark. You need to mess with him.
Yeah.
We
There you
need to
go.
see if he can make it. And I know the fans, like I've seen the Twitter traffic or X traffic. I don't know what the name is properly or if it's still Twitter, but I've seen the traffic on it and people love it. But personally, I felt like LA Knight hasn't been able to keep up.
No, and that's what we were talking about. Is Mikey brought up a conspiracy theory that someone got in his head and said, "Hey, it's his face and heel, and you're the face, so either tone it down or don't do the jokes or water it down or something," which kind of makes sense to me. But if that's the case, then Miz is just gonna run all over you. Dude's already funny, already charismatic.
Yeah.
Was on MTV unscripted for 4 years. Like he's got that's already baked into his subconscious. He could go at any time at anybody with this stuff.
I mean, this is what he does, and he's also like had to improv in like movies and stuff, and he has his reality show with his wife, so he's taken on to another level. I just feel like LA Knight right now looks out of place in and this is one thing that I don't know if it was you or if it was the other co-host. I apologize. That talks about facial expressions.
Yeah,
That would be.
JV and I,
Yeah,
Yep.
we
that's
both talk
okay.
about it all the time. Yeah, all the time.
Yes, and when every time Miz hits him with like a really good dig, like the 2003 guy, you got eliminated first on the show. Like LA Knight always gives this disappointing face, like almost like I know they both have the words to the promo backstage, but it's almost like, did you not think the crowd was gonna pop at this? Because they didn't pop at him talking about him being eliminated. That you could hear it in the crowd. They didn't really react to that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, LA Knight just looked so out of sorts. Like he looks like right now the only thing he could do is the shtick. He thinks he's already at the Steve Austin what? And he's not there yet.
I wonder if that's what it is. Like the momentum was so fast, and he felt it, and he filled those boots up until maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now it's slipping a little bit. He might be in his head. I agree. I wonder if, and this is an actor thing too, and this could be a handful of other things, but like when you read it on the page, or when I tell you, hey, I get this joke, I'm gonna land it on you. It's all fun and games until it lands on you, and then you feel it, and you went, poof, oh, that hurt. Don't get heady. Stay in the moment. Like keep moving forward. So I wonder if the Miz just kind of Miz just landed more clean shots in that.
I gotta say, I really expected this to be more so. I know I keep bringing up references, but it's all wrestling related anyway. But you remember when Enzo was in the ring with the Miz, and the Miz really tried to dress him down, but Enzo he just held
Yep.
up. Like
Yep.
Enzo's just on another level. I thought
Gosh.
LA Knight was gonna do that.
But
I've
he
seen that
hasn't
promo,
hit that.
yeah.
He hasn't hit that level quite yet.
No, I mean
And
I came out of those promos with Enzo thinking like, oh man, I've never seen the Miz lose a promo battle. That was crazy. Like he tried everything and it didn't work. You know.
It-
I
But
don't know. I think that he might have. It could be anything. They might be. I'm gonna say this, and I think this makes sense to me. I think they might have overused LA Knight a little bit. They
mhm,
might have played the hot hand too much early on, and now that it's time for, hey, let's go, he's starting to kind of plateau with all these pay-per-views that we got coming up and things coming up, which is a shame
mhm.
because dude's over, dude's
Yeah,
talented enough to be over, but now it's a different type of momentum, right? Now it's a different type of you got to carry a different weight now. And
yeah.
and the impact, the old school impact stuff I've seen, and other work that dude's been doing before he was LA Knight when he was just Eli, still great. That's still in there somewhere.
Yeah,
But
I agree with you. The only thing that makes sense to me is that he went out there and they were like, you know what? Like, let the Miz be your heater and just react to what he says. The problem is that's not his style.
oh,
And like, I wonder if what he needs to do is he needs to go back and like, because this is something they tell you to do in wrestling. I know, like when I was training, this was something they said. They were like, study as much as you can. Like I remember I had like RF videos. I don't know if you guys know what RF video is, but it's like this guy who had like he had a table set up at these indie shows, and they were all like he would pop the red tab and he would record like 6 to 9 hours of like all these best of wrestling things, like wrestling
damn.
shows. So I had like the best of Chris Jericho, the best of Voldemort, which I won't say his name on the podcast here. The best of the best of William Regal, Dean Malenko, things like that. And
Sure.
when like he would always like we would always be told, go study this stuff. And they would tell you like if you're not gonna be talented in the ring, we'll tell you, then you need to study guys like Piper. You need to study guys like Reckless Youth, who's a really is an indie talent. Tom Carter's what he was on in WWE. And I really feel like he needs to go back and you don't need to go back that far. Go back to Mr. Kennedy. Go back to Mr. Anderson in TNA. He knows how to do this exact thing and he can keep up. And I don't know, I feel like he's being watered down.
That's exactly what Mike was saying too. I agree, and I don't know if it seems like it could be creative pumping in his ears or whatever else, or his plate got too full. You're shooting a lot of commercials now. You're probably doing a
Really?
lot of
Okay.
interviews now. He's done Slim Jim. He did another one, not
Slim
T-Mobile. He did
Jim.
another thing that aired. Like he's got a handful of
Me for
commercials and
Slim
stuff
Jim,
coming up
that's
too.
rude. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I think the issue
So
too with this feud is that because both, not so much as Miz, but LA Knight. I mean, technically by standards, LA Knight is a SmackDown star, but he's been pretty much featured on both shows prominently the last 2 to 3 weeks.
right,
And it goes to
you're
what you were saying, John, before is like the overexposure thing can also hinder a wrestler for a little bit. I was just like, you have a hot commodity. I'm not saving to shelf him completely, but when you come out 110% and you don't give LA Knight in correct amount of doses, I'm just like, I love him, but now I can start to see the cracks where he needs a little bit more work, especially when you put up in a promo battle with probably one of the top promo people that WWE main roster currently has right now, anyways. Too.
so
I'm
the
he
like,
is
story was
teetering on
yep,
Rock and Billy.
yeah,
That's what it's
the
teetering on right now.
I think because The Rock had like 4 writers, 2 producers, and somebody else. And whenever The Rock wrestled or had a feud, and Lewis probably knows this more about this too. Like they would all get in the room and go, "Here's the scripts. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. Here's what."
Brian Gowertz, he took him to
Yeah,
his production company. Yeah.
and he would just say, "Here's all my stuff. Here's my crew. Here's how I work."
Mhm.
LA Knight, it took that many folks to get The Rock going, and The Rock knew. And The Rock was collaborative, and The Rock sold it. LA Knight's doing this by himself. I get the
Yeah.
feeling, and that's really, really hard. And I mean, better than I could ever do, and better than 90% of us and 99% of us could ever do. But you're gonna crack at some point. That shit's
Well,
hard.
see, he's missing that dusty person.
Yeah.
He's missing that person that just tells him, hey, baby, get out of your head. Like, that's what he's missing. And he doesn't have that right now. I feel like he doesn't have that person that's just like, hey, like, even if it's John Cena. And here's the hard part: every time we see these behind the scene things, like these, like, behind, like, break kayfabe, it looks like the Miz is this guy for the locker room right now. And I feel like we're gonna look back at the Miz's Monday night stint, like dressing up as LA Knight. I feel like we're gonna look back at that as like the worst of those, because he actually told the crowd, "This is all you got in this guy. This is what you like, and this is all he can do."
You're not wrong.
No.
Yeah.
So,
You're not
and
wrong.
we'll talk about it once because we're gonna do something special. We're gonna give payback predictions when we're done with the SmackDown
Which
reviews.
paybacks in 18 minutes. But not a movie.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we should be okay. So after that promo segment, we get the only women's match on SmackDown this week. Crime still, but you know what? But still, we got a commercial break though, so this match actually got some time. So Bailey versus
Yes.
Shotzi in this match. Shotzi looking like the for all my Latinos out there, like there is a particular type of hair gel, the Gorilla Moco one with the gorilla with the hair spikes. Shotzi, yes,
Yeah.
Shotzi's hairstyle was just like, you look like you belong on a bottle of the Gorilla Moco, and I'm here for it. Oh gosh, this is what I wanted. We were asking ourselves. It was 2 weeks that we didn't see Shotzi. I'm like, so did we drop the storyline? Oh, never mind. Here we go.
I love Shotzi. I've talked about Shotzi a lot since I started this.
You worked with
2 years ago,
Shotzi,
year and a half
though
ago.
she may not remember you.
She's not gonna remember me. I love seeing the Pride of San Jose and the Pride of Oakland fight each other. There's folks out here in Northern California who go in ape shit just that this is happening at all. Finally, this is happening. There's a
Yes.
story. There's a story that Shotzi and Bailey worked together years and years and years ago, which I just found out about. So that warms my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
They were genuinely, and I don't want to generalize all of the night, but they were having the most fun. They were
Yes.
having a blast. They're
That-
they're borderline laughing with each other the
Yeah.
entire time, which was
So
great to
hot
see.
take: this was better than the 4-way at All In.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
so I'm a really big.
But you're not
I
wrong.
I always point this out. Thank you, I appreciate that. I always point this out. They got 2 segments. They got a commercial break, as Mikey said. So that meant that they were given real time. And even though, and this is one of those really odd moments where Charlotte comes out, right? And she didn't steal Shotzi's spotlight. I thought, oh, you hear the music, she's gonna steal her spotlight, but listen.
That's
Shotzi
right.
Bennington with her awesome hair, she absolutely looked phenomenal in this match. And I mean, I'm forever gonna be a Bailey fan because she's a 49ers fan like me. But
You and the professor and
We'll
my
talk
mom.
later.
Yes.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, I
We'll
love
talk.
it. I'm going to week 1, so it's right in
Man,
Pittsburgh. Yeah,
oh, man,
I've taken
of
my
course.
son whenever they come here. I just won't go to Philly. I'm not stupid, but yeah, yeah. Uh, but so yeah, getting back to this, I really feel like the objective here, which is not something we've seen a lot, is I think the whole like Shotzi, like having a different look. I think there's tons of wrestlers with different color hair. So we have Alexa Bliss, we've had Eva Marie, we've had Shotzi. We get the whole different color hair dynamic, but I think like they've never had like a star like this. Like what did we have like from the Straight Edge Society, right? That was the last time that a female had a shaved
sure.
head. And I feel like they're running with it. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the plan to have Shotzi like in this type of like environment, feuding with Damage Control, Shotzi, and now Charlotte standing tall at the end. Because they could have had Charlotte come out, it could have been a schmoz, and then Bailey wins. But
That's exactly what I was waiting for. And I was like, Charlotte, why are you here? No, don't do this to me now. Oh, that you're holding up Shotzi's arm? Wait.
yes,
Wait a second. So very, very intrigued to see how that goes.
Yeah.
I there's part of me that wants to see Bailey get her head shaved just because it's funny, but I don't know where we're going. I'm
I
interested
don't
to see
think
where we're
it
going.
matters.
I just want to. I'm like, we're going somewhere great. Let's go somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure she would do it. Like Bailey is
I'm sure
she's a lifer, man.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure she would do it.
Bailey So this is a hot take too. Like Bailey's work ethic and her willingness to do anything and everything. She reminds me of Molly Holly because Molly Holly was down to shave her head during like when
Yeah.
she had that match, and then she rocked
Yup.
that short hair, bald look for a very long time. I was like, Bailey to me is like work rate is similar to Molly Holly, who is willing to do anything and everything if that means that women's wrestling gets to be featured on television as much as it possibly can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where is Molly Holly?
She's a
I just want.
backstage. She's backstage
She's
at
backstage.
WWE. Yeah.
Hey, Molly. Are they? I hope they're listening to her because the women gotta do more.
They always talk about her. Anytime a woman wrestler talks in any type of interviews, they always talk about the past, and no one ever brings up Molly Holly. And then all of a sudden, the current women stars are like, "We studied her." Like the way
Oh
guys like
yeah.
CM Punk and FTR studied Bret Hart. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
like the way Mercedes studied Eddie. Like there are women out there that talk about Molly as like that she might be the best wrestler of the Trish Stratus era.
Oh, for
I mean,
sure.
yeah. I
And
mean,
that's a
you're not
tough
wrong.
crowd because, like, to me, there was a lot of good women. It's just that they had to fight tooth and nail for every opportunity because, women's wrestling wasn't as big and prominent. Well, I feel like it was. It just it wasn't being featured correctly because, like, Molly, Trish, Lita, even my personal favorite, this is a hot take, Mickey James, I will forever stand in a day too. I love Mickey
One
so
hundred
much.
percent.
Yeah.
There
Mm-hmm.
was. I'm so glad you brought up all these women too. Don't forget about Gail.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Gail Kim.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
And then
yes.
my personal favorite, Victoria. I thought she was the bomb.
Yes.
I really did. I was like, yeah, she can work, man. Like I really enjoyed watching Victoria work in the ring.
Like those women did everything. They're just like, I don't want to do bra and panties matches. Like I want to
Mm,
fight. And of
Yeah.
course, because a lot of them didn't really have any prior wrestling experience, they made the men be like, I need you to come here and you're gonna train me. We're gonna learn. I'm learning here. Like I need you to teach me because I'm not doing these stupid gimmick matches.
Mm-hmm.
that's so weird. You just described the like season 2 of Heels so far.
Nah.
Yeah.
I heard Heels is really good.
it's
Oh, amazing.
it's so much
Amazing. All right,
fun.
I gotta watch. Yep,
Worth
I'll
it.
take it.
And you can get stars for $3 a month right now. So for the next 3 months, and it's already on
Really?
episode 6. So by the time you go to cancel it, you know.
He'll pretty
I'll
much
be
have
caught up.
watched it. Seriously.
Yeah.
But
Between that
yep.
and the new Ohio Pro Wrestling.
Oh, that
Ohio
documentary is
Wrestling,
going to be
yeah,
fun. We're
that
going to
looks
find a
pretty
way to
rad.
cover it, so
That
stay
looks pretty
tuned for
rad.
that. But
Yeah.
Shotzi winning here, and Charlotte actually kind of giving the co-sign for Shotzi at the end of the match made my heart pitter patter. I'm like, finally, everyone can start to see how amazing Shotzi is because NXT Shotzi is. I loved her, but even independent.
Is that her? Does she have a finisher? Is that her finisher?
Well, if I'm
I thought it
being,
was the senton off the top.
yeah, so
That's it.
yeah, but
Is-
I think this whole thing because like for the longest time, if we have a memorable finisher, because that's I feel like we talked about this on multiple occasions. We here feel that that was what was missing from Shotzi in order to get the crowd. The crowd is behind her just for the aesthetic
Well,
alone.
not even necessarily missing, but sort of like I felt like there's folks backstage being like, "You got to pick a finisher, kid," and she's like, "I just want to work. Can I just
Yeah.
go work and fight?"
Please.
Well,
What's
how are
wrong
you
with her
gonna?
finish?
How,
What's wrong with the senton off the top? I mean, Akira
no, it's
Tozawa does it, and it's perfect.
it's perfect. No,
Yeah.
it's just that Shotzi never necessarily
Yeah.
had that thing that lands that ends it.
Or the
Yeah,
fact that
she's
she
definitely
hasn't even gotten a lot of screen time for people to be able to dig that
Right.
finisher.
people are invested right now. They are invested in her, so they got to keep it rolling.
Please.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let this be
Absolutely.
it, and then we don't see Shotzi, and then I see her at just doing house show circuits. I'm like,
She's a natural baby face. I
she
don't think she's a very
is.
good heel. She's just not a very. I feel like she's supposed to be a heel. I just think she's a natural
Just
baby
let her
face.
be a crazy baby face. I love it.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so good. So, we get a random video package that they played on Monday Night Raw for Shinsuke versus Seth. I still think that match is gonna slap, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We get bumpers for next week's show, and then we get to the main event, which is AJ versus Solo Sikoa. Again, I talked about this earlier. I was like, so you pick Solo over Jimmy to fight? Okay, sure, why not? I
Wanted to give Hershey a really good wrestling match.
yeah.
That's what it felt like. I don't think Jimmy's as crisp in the ring as
Right.
Solo is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I
And for
mean,
the
it doesn't matter. AJ Styles could work like
oh, for
you
sure.
know,
Oh yeah.
anything. He's gonna make it look amazing. So
Right.
there were some kind of flubs in this match, though. You could tell
There
it was
was
possibly their first time working together.
Yeah.
Mhm. There was a really big. There was a few misses in the beginning. I was Paul Heyman just late, or was that,
I believe so. I
or
don't.
was that
That match was very odd. I thought the Shotzi Bailey match was the match of the night.
I
I
agree. I agree.
I thought for these two talented superstars in the ring, I really felt like this is not what I'm used to. And I don't know if like AJ's one of those guys that needs to rev up. Like give me a constant a couple of matches and then I can get back to like the form you need me to be. But he just doesn't look like the same AJ Styles right now.
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because Solo Sikoa with Paul Heyman, Solo's walking out by himself, and then Paul Heyman just kind of walks down to the ring 2 or 3 minutes later. A lot of those forearms hit from a distance, which looked great from the camera angles I saw.
Yeah.
And Solo sold them for the most part, but like you were saying, was sort of like, oh, that's what we're doing. Oh, that's where this was. Oh, that's right. The end of this was weird because if this is the truth and this is what they were playing, Solo is on the other end of the ring. AJ's getting ready for that forearm. There's no way AJ's gonna jump 20 feet to the other turnbuckle, and he's still gearing up for that jump. And we look, and that camera cuts away, and you see where Solo is compared to where he should. So AJ yelling at Paul, kinda. There was a good 10 seconds here of like, what are we doing? What are we doing? How are we doing?
I felt like it was so odd because the camera showed Solo pulling the ref away.
Right.
And I was like, why are you showing that spot?
Ugh.
Just get out of the way, the both of yous. Let AJ and Paul Heyman have their moment to pop the crowd, to get the crowd wondering, like, oh, he's going to cost them a match, and then unveil Jimmy. But then,
No.
not only did Jimmy come up, but then he fell and missed AJ
I was
entirely.
I was like, what? I was like, Jimmy, you had one job, bro. I'm like, oh man.
So the thing that,
I mean, John Cena was right. The wrong one quit. Just like...
Because that's what killed me was like, now you blew it because there's no way AJ's thinking he could make that jump.
Yeah.
1, 2, he sat in that squat for a good 7 extra seconds. And then Jimmy comes out and kind of sort of taps him, and AJ goes, "Oh God, no!" And then
yeah, very strange, very very odd like match. I thought very odd finish. All of it was weird to me.
I mean,
I don't even know. Like I thought the lead up was good. I thought I was like, all right, we're gonna get Solo AJ, and then once the match started, by the end, I was like, Bailey and Shotzi should have closed.
Seriously.
I think they could have closed. I would have had no problems.
But you
I
know,
would have been happier with the Shinsuke package actually to close over this match.
Honestly,
I like that Shinsuke package.
I love this version.
We'll talk about it in a sec.
wild.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a sec when we do predictions for Payback, which is literally like in 5 minutes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, I gotta start Peacock, or else I'm not gonna be able to watch the ending of this.
That's what I'm doing. I have my Peacock going.
Seriously.
Like, yeah. As we're talking about the Shinsuke package, that's what they're starting.
Seriously.
With,
So I mean,
it looks like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Straight out of like a,
love it.
Oh, okay. So
Yep.
I mean, we can bypass the rating. We said this was a strange. It was pretty good, but you know, it was sure.
Well,
I'll give it an empanada and a half. That's what I'll give it. That's kind of what I told my son. He goes, "Daddy, on your empanada rating, what are you gonna give it?" I said, "I'll give it 1 empanada and 1 bite of another one." Like that's...
Okay, I'm actually okay with that rating.
I like the empanada scale. We normally use a 1 out of 10, but empanada, I know exactly what that means for some reason. I feel like
We talked about this,
every
John.
culture has them.
Yes,
They're all delicious.
they are. Listen, John, we already talked about it. You are an honorary member of the Latino gang. Your family history tells you you are, regardless if you didn't get any melatonin in your skin for it. But anyways,
all my cousins are in Mexico, man.
Seriously.
I
Okay. So,
all right, man.
So let's go through Payback predictions, because
let's do it.
There's one thing that kind of changed that I'm looking at the reports that I think I'm still gonna. Anyways, okay, so let's just start this out. So I want to start with the non-title matches first, and then we'll work our way up. So LA Knight versus The Miz. According to the Wikipedia, which I know is not 100% the news report, but they have their references. So apparently, John Cena is going to special guest referee this match now for some odd reason.
Really?
Wonderful.
I'm
That
still,
is a weird. It's
yeah,
weird.
it's weird. I'm still picking Miz to take this one because I feel that we're going to get a 3 out of LA Knight and Miz. And I think Miz takes this one.
Absolutely agree. I got the Miz too.
I think it's the Miz over LA Knight. I think John Cena as ref is going to come into play. I don't know why. It's gonna be weird.
Again, I don't know why Cena is special guest referee or why he's the host. Sure, I hate hosts of pay-per-views. It is whatever. They're trying to get John Cena as much screen time as
I'll talk
possible.
about the host thing a little bit in a little bit.
Ooh.
When we get to the main event, I'll talk about the host thing.
Ooh, okay. So all of us are cool with Miz. Awesome. Yep. So next up, Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage match. Becky's got to win this one. And I hate to say this, I want this feud to be over because I feel like WWE did the wrong thing and extended this feud past when it should have ended at SummerSlam, if I'm being completely honest.
SummerSlam is like a massive show. It's the second biggest show of the year. I'm picking Becky as well, and I think we're going to get a face turn at the end where she raises Becky's hand.
Yeah.
I agree that's the right thing to do, but I'm going to go against it because WWE is going to do the wrong thing. I think Trish will win, but I think there'll be some kind of kind of like you're talking about. There'll be some kind of facey turn something, and
whether Zoe turns on Trish or however it works out, I just feel like that's what's going to happen.
Something in there kind of thing, but because they're not. Anyway, I'll rant about that later. Keep going.
Side note: Becky versus Zoe on Monday Night Raw was my match of the night. That Falls Count Anywhere match was amazing, and we got the meme of Trish hitting Zoe with the chair by accident. It was kind of funny. Zoe's face, she's like, "Really?" It was great.
Love it.
Okay, so now we get into championship matches here. So we'll start with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on the Judgment Day, which is being represented by Finn Balor and Damian Priest in a Steel City street fight. KO and Sami are retaining, in my opinion. Again, I see some miscommunication happening again for Damian and Finn, costing them the title, and Finn's going to get pinned again.
Yeah. I'm going with team anger management too. I think that's going to be the win.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's kind of where else are we going otherwise? It would be strange if it wasn't that. Like, where are we going now if this happens? Okay.
And WWE, I know you can't make them bleed, but if you call this a street fight, please let them be violent because I still have the bitter taste of the Terry Funk hardcore match from Smackdown last week in my mouth.
Or that stadium match with Roman and Jay, where it was like, great,
where
are we going?
Listen, that was a sham, and we talked about it. They like to play hard and fast with the rules. So, KO and Sami, unanimous. Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship. So, I have Rey retaining here, especially if we're going to get him versus Santos eventually at some point. Is it bad of me to say I feel bad for Austin Theory in this? Because once he loses, where do we go with him?
He's going to win his title back. I think he's great tonight.
I think Austin wins, and I think Grayson Waller does something.
Okay,
I think we just keep this heel thing going.
So that's perfect because before this started, there was a rumor. It's been going everywhere that WWE is going to take one of these big superstars right now and turn them babyface. And these are the two that everybody's talking about: Grayson Waller, Austin Theory. So who's going to be the next babyface?
I would prefer.
That's fascinating.
I don't hate Austin Theory personally. I actually would. Well, I like Grayson as this kind of cocky Australian heel, but I would actually.
Yeah.
I would like to see what a Grayson Waller face would work out. But honestly, though, Austin Theory as face, I think might actually be fun. I miss him in the way. I know that's a hot take, but goofy Austin Theory was kind of my favorite version of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're going to let this Grayson Waller heel talk show thing ride while it still keeps some storylines alive because he's just so damn good at it.
Seriously, I love it. So what I'm hearing is that I'm the only one that's picking Rey, but that's okay. honestly, like this match, I'm like, it could go either way, and I'd be okay with it. So we'll see. So this is a rarity, but Rhea Ripley is actually having a pay per view match. She's defending her title against my Tejana Princesa Raquel Rodriguez. All I want is I want the brutality and the violence that was their NXT matches, and if they can let them go like that, I will eat crow and I will forgive the majority of Rhea Ripley's championship run if they allow these two to go ham.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I-
I think this might be for matches of the night. This might be like a one.
I
Like,
hope
hey,
so.
This has a potential to be the one of the night.
As the only women's match on, well, no, as only one of two women's matches, I should say, but one for the championship. I still think it's a
I
crime
think
that.
they're gonna get a
Yep.
lot of time.
Yes, I hope
Go
so.
out there, tell a story. Ultimately, I have Rhea winning
Same.
with Dom's help.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll buy that too.
I see
mean,
that.
I don't hate that.
I don't. So, yeah, I love Raquel, but Rhea's not losing his title. Hey, so this is, for me personally, this is the hardest one to pick because there's multiple factors. But the main event, as Michael Cole announced that this will be the main event, Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. So, there are so many factors. Ultimately, I picked Seth to win, but that's not including potentially. I'm hearing rumors that Damian may cash in tonight. I've also seen reports, and I would be okay if a Shinsuke wins as well. Now, I'm leaning towards maybe Shinsuke winning too, especially I shouldn't have read the reports today that supposedly the Great Muta is in Pittsburgh all of a sudden
Yes,
now.
he is. No, that's not supposedly. He took a picture
Yo.
next to the stadium.
So,
He's at Permanente Brothers right
I
now.
was just like, if he's not, and I also heard reports, I don't know if WWE would let him, but if Shinsuke for one night only brings back the demon Shinsuke Nakamura for this match, I am here for it.
If the mist is why he wins, my God, maybe Muda mists Seth Rollins. That would be amazing.
See, now that
there
you
are so
said
many
that,
factors.
I now it's would Seth drop the belt? And then
absolutely.
do we get no? But yes, absolutely he would. Does he drop the belt to get this storyline even more momentum and heat moving forward for other things?
So I thought this, and I have not stopped thinking. So the odds makers, right, have Seth Rollins winning this match, right? That's kind of the way to have it. But I thought this feud done way better than the feud I'm about to mention. But it reminds me a lot of Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal. And remember, no one thought Jinder was gonna win, but he was super hot at the moment.
Yep.
And I wonder if like Seth pushes for Knock to win, like, oh, this will help the title. Like, keep Damian away, let Knock win, and let me go get the title back.
Seriously.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be the best way to do it, but ultimately, whether it's the host who costs Seth the match, which is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, you know, by accident, you know, somebody comes out to screw over, you know, Seth Rollins, and that's when, you know, he gets the mist, and then that's when Nakamura hits him with Kinshasa, which is a brutal finish. And that's kind of what I'm hoping. But yeah, I don't want to hedge my bets. I'm gonna pick Nakamura. I know what the odds makers say.
Yeah.
I'm going against it.
See,
yeah. I have Seth too, but I think I'm switching.
This one's hard. This one's really hard to pick because it can go either way. There's so many factors, and I'm okay with either outcome if I'm being honest. Now, I will cry, and you know, if Shinsuke wins, because for the longest time I was like, please bring me back the NXT Shinsuke, like the one that just, like Asuka, destroyed everybody and ran through the division.
Well, it is known in the time that we all grew up with wrestling, we know that money is in the babyface chasing the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
that's kind of what I was saying too. Is like if we can get this going on for a little while longer, while we're all in love with Seth and watching Shinsuke. I mean, yeah, I'll go Shinsuke.
yeah, that's what I'm going. I'm picking Shinsuke. I just hope I want it to happen. I wanted it to happen at WrestleMania, but for some reason, AJ was so hot at the moment. I don't think they felt like they could take the title off him.
Right. So
That'd be wild.
the
I'm gonna-
only
and I'm gonna,
yeah.
I'm gonna remind myself that Muda's in the building. Muda is in the building. My pick.
Yeah.
Seriously. And then, of course, the only other thing that we got announced is randomly we're having an episode of the Grayson Waller Effect with Cody Rhodes because, you know, Cody doesn't have a match, but we got to put Cody on the pay-per-view. Sure. Okay, fine. And then John Cena's host, so that's pretty much it. But that is going to bring us to the end of our Friday Night Faction review for SmackDown for September 1st. I'm not going to do the whole long outro. Hit the bell notification, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on the social medias at BC WrestlePod. Until next review, adios, sayonara, and we're about to go watch Payback. So we'll let you stay tuned tomorrow because we're either going to love it or hate it when we review this thing. So,
Breaking news: Becky and Trish is opening.
Okay.
Oh, it's happening now.
On that note, we love y'all, but we got to go. Bye.